Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue, and welcome to Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. So, a couple of weeks ago I went to the Montreal Audio Fest. I have still a bunch of footage that I'm putting together. I want to put a compilation video just visiting a bunch of rooms, give my impressions. So that's coming. But today I wanted to talk to you about, there were 3 rooms that I went into that I had especially wonderful experiences in. So I just wanted to tell you about these 3 special rooms that gave me great experiences at the Montreal Audio Fest this year. Okay, so the first room that I really had a special experience in was the TAD Labs. Now, TAD Labs wasn't originally supposed to be showing at the Montreal Audio Fest, but there was travel plans and then room availability with the show kind of synchronized, and it ended up being that there was an opportunity for them to show, and they had some special products, and so they organized it. They weren't in the initial mailings for the show, so they kind of reached out to some of the media and told them, oh, we're going to be here. I got one of the emails. Jacqueline from TAD Labs reached out and offered me a spot where I could preview the systems. And so I jumped at the chance, obviously. I went down and I met Jacqueline and Dave from TAD Labs. Got the lowdown on TAD. Wasn't really familiar with the brand. I know that Andrew Jones had designed a speaker, an M1 speaker from them. And I know a short while ago there was a bunch of the reviews of the C1TX stand mount speaker from them. That was getting a bunch of favorable reviews, so I was kind of aware of that, but I didn't know the whole story and the whole history behind it. So I guess TAD Labs is an offshoot of Pioneer. They're kind of like the high-end portion of Pioneer, a standalone, but still using the resources available to them. As far as I know, hand-assembled, built in Japan, and built to very, very high standards. So they have a reference line, and they were showing off their reference speakers. They also had a DAC, CD player, disc player, a preamp, and then the Reference 1 TX speakers. Now these things are giant speakers, impeccably finished cabinets. They have the dual concentric drivers, which they call CST, which is coherent source transducer, I think. It's actually a beryllium mid and a beryllium tweeter in one concentric driver, and then they've got the 2 10-inch bass drivers below. These speakers are giant. They're 330 pounds per cabinet, 4 ohms, 90 dB sensitivity, and I think they're rated down to 21 hertz, and then the tweeter goes up to 100K, so just like enormous range. So I showed up in the morning and they had coffee for me, so I had a great start there. Spoke to Jacqueline and spoke to Dave, and they gave me the history of the company a little bit, and talked about these components, and then it was just one-on-one, and I sat down and I listened to this enormous system. They let me pick up the tracks, and Gautier, state-of-the-art. That's a fun track for me. I've been listening to it for a number of years on a bunch of different systems, but I put it on there, and just huge sound. I looked at my notes. The sound stage was just illuminated right to the back. I mean, you had enormous depth and height and width, but also the sound projected forward the plane of the speakers and also back. And these forward sounds, when things were placed at that point in the soundstage, were very intimate sounding. And the stuff in the back was very, very far back and very dynamic. Anything I listened to on that system kind of sounded like a special, enhanced version of whatever I was listening to. So it was pretty special. Really over the top, really, really big and large sounding. That was a large system. Then they had the smaller system set up with their popular speakers, the CE1 TX. Kind of their large stand mounts. I had seen them in videos and in pictures, but I wasn't prepared for how big they are. I mean, those are big beasts, really, really nicely finished. It turns out they're around 32,000 Canadian for those stand mounts. So none of the budget side at all, less than the big reference stuff, but still they have these aluminum side panels, and they're sitting just off the side of the cabinet, and there's the ports are kind of firing forward and backwards out of those side panels, so that helps to load bass and helps make them kind of flexible in room placement. speakers are rated down to about 34 hertz and then up to 100K. They use the dual concentric driver as well, a magnesium mid and a beryllium tweeter. But those on the stands with their C1000 preamp, that new preamp in the down from the reference level. Just a gorgeous, beautiful piece of equipment. I just love the finish of it and the shapes and the angles. I'll put up some pictures here so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's absolutely just drop dead gorgeous. And then inside it's, you know, full symmetrical, dual mono, balanced, separate power supply isolated inside. The components really high end. Their kind of philosophy is to make components as pure and natural sounding. You know, they're saying, you know, some high-end stuff is kind of euphonic sounding, enhances the sound of the music. The other direction for high-end audio is just very pure and clean, and that's kind of what their philosophy is for the components. So I listened to that smaller system. I looked at my notes and it was like detail. It was just so detailed without sounding harsh or fatiguing at all, which was a pretty special fine line to walk. Very, very dynamic. It can be delicate, and another special thing was kind of the way all the sounds, even when you're playing very complex music, the way each sound kind of occupies its own space. So you can really just pick out all the individual elements of the music, because they're all placed individually. So that's a pretty special presentation that you're able to get out of that equipment. Learning about the brand, talking to the people one-on-one, it was really, really special, because it's fun to meet the people behind the brands and meet the people who work with the brands, to hear their passion and their devotion to the craft, and to kind of get that background, and to realize, you know, there's a team of people who are really dedicated and really passionate, committed to producing these amazing components. They don't just appear out of thin air. There's a core group working behind them to bring them to market, and it's fun to meet some of the people involved in that and to really learn in depth about the brand. So for me, that TAD Labs experience was pretty special. Okay, the second room that I really gave me a great experience was Artist Cloner. Now, Artist Cloner is a brand I only heard of when I went to the show last year. It's a Quebec brand, and it's Silvio Comtois, brainchild behind the brand. And I kind of see him as like a renaissance man of modern audio. As far as I can tell, a one-man show. He's designing and building the amps, the preamps, tube preamp, his speakers, his digital components, AC power, distribution, filtering, noise rejection units, cables. I mean, he's doing all of this stuff. It's brilliant, and it's unconventional, and it's beautiful, and it sounds awesome too. So I saw their stuff last year at the show. Before the show this year, I wanted to reach out to them and said, hey, you know, is anything new you're showing off? Sent me back some information on their new Mechanica speaker, so this steampunk designed speaker. So I show up at the show, and I find the room. Isabel, who's Silvio's partner, and I'm sure a driving force behind the brand as well. She's there dressed in her finest steampunk outfit, and she's explaining to me the rooms and everything that's there. And I see on the wall behind her there's a bunch of laminated stars, and there's one with my name on it. And she's like, oh, here, take this, give this to Silvio when you go in so he can recognize you and know that you're here. It's fantastic already. And so you go there, and there were actually two rooms. The main room with the system in it and everything, and that one was packed. I mean, it was full of people. And they had a second room, which was kind of like the history or the explanation of the brand. I went into that first room first, and it was the whole thing was laid out. On the wall there were these 6 different panels with a story on it that was detailing Silvio's complete journey from a child, and things he was interested in taking stuff apart and finding electronics magazines, and then the people he met, and then what brought him to the next stage in his journey, and the whole history. And then there was the magazines and the books that he had read, and his first preamplifier sample and some later amps, and display of all the different components he had done, and pictures from different audio shows and things. So it was a wonderful little history live diorama of the artist Cloner brand, and so really whetted my appetite to hear the components at this point. So I made my way over to the other room, and line up out the door. The room was packed all weekend. A number of reviews online. Those speakers really, his new Mechanica speakers really made an impression on a lot of people. So I go in, and I was listening to some music there, and it was really wonderful. I went up to Silvio and then gave him my star, and he was chatting with him for a while. Really brilliant ideas that he has. And then he said, okay, come, I want to play you some music. And so he brought me right to the front center, sweet spot chair. He's like, why don't you just sit here? Just vacated the spot for me, and I sat down in this packed room, for just for me to listen, just for me to have this experience. So I sat down, and then he put on a Dead Can Dance track. And so these speakers, they're not like the little piano black narrow towers that people make. No, these are like big wood and stone and iron contraptions. 2 7-inch mid-bass drivers, each in their own cabinet, with an AMT tweeter in between. It sits tall, hand-oiled wood finish, iron fittings holding it together. The ports for the bass cabinets are steel tubes, slant cut, looks like exhaust pipes off of a Harley that you ripped off the bike and shoved them in the cabinet. Crossover was all laid out there, and just top-notch components. I mean, it must be a kind of a lower crossover point, because the capacitor was just like this big beer can size capacitor. I mean, real serious stuff in there. A table with his tube preamp and his monoblocks, and then below there he had his digital components with his AC power distribution, and these little cylinders with a cable that plugged in, and those like scrub noise off the AC lines, and he kind of demonstrated how those worked. So really impressive setup. A big clock tower banner in the back. The whole theme for those speakers was going on through the whole room, and he was dressed as well. It was just a surreal experience. So I sat down in the seat that he had vacated for me, and I waited there, and then he put on some music, and he put on a Dead Can Dance track, and the music came on. The speakers are incredible. Just the integration between the bass drivers and the AMT tweeter is seamless. The bass slam and depth and extension is just incredible. And the sound staging is beautiful and dynamic. I could go on describing it, but really what happened was he put on the music. I liked the track, and I liked the Dead Can Dance, and the music just came on, and it's just so big and enveloping and detailed. I closed my eyes, and I was just transported. I was just transported to the soundscape of where the music was, and the artist playing and this song that was happening. And I just forgot that I was listening to a digital stream through electronics and speakers in a hotel room packed with 30 other people sitting around me. I was just moved to where the music was, and just completely engaged with it. And I think that's really kind of the highest compliment you can pay a system is when you just forget everything else and you just connect directly with the music. And that's what happened, despite the conditions of just being in a chair with people on either sides of me, behind me, and in this hotel room. I was just transported to the music, and I just fell right into it, and it was just such a lovely experience, and then totally unexpected. I just showed up to the room, and then got this museum, and then this really nice treatment, and this amazing sonic experience of listening to the artist Cloner system. It was really special, and very memorable. So that was experience number 2 that was really a standout for me at the Montreal Audio Fest. And so good things come in threes. So the third wonderful experience I had at the Montreal Audio Fest this year, Audio Excellence Room. Adrian Lowe presenting the Daniel Hertz Maria and Chiara loudspeakers, Maria amplifier. The Daniel Hertz components, the Maria integrated amp, but it's kind of like a complete integrated amp. It's DAC, I think streamer, headphone amp, preamp, power amp, but it's also got this technology called Mighty Cat, where he's really leveraging technology to integrate, volume control and switching and crossover points and phase correction and time alignment of the drivers and everything. That all happens in the amp. And then the speakers are bi-wired, so there's no passive components for the speakers. And then the speakers have the ribbon tweeter and this special woofer. It's not a large woofer, maybe 8-inch or something, but it's got a resonant frequency of 27 hertz. Dig really deep down, very full range, and very detailed on the treble, and then the way it integrates with, I think, Class D amplification inside, and the way it's all integrated is just, a start to finish solution from the one brand, pure synergy, everything developed to work with each other, and it achieves quite a high level of sound for that. It's the Daniel Hertz system that they were playing in the room, just the amp and the speakers. Beautiful. I mean, just the cabinets on those speakers are, piano black, but just finished to such the nth degree. Kind of shiny black, glossy black component as well. Nice wiring going to those. The speakers were on their stand mounts on these transparent acrylic stands, look kind of sharp. So that's the system. But really what was special was I had passed by the room a couple times, and I said, I recognize that guy from the videos. First day, second day. Third day I finally went in and started looking around, and people were kind of milling about, and there was a chair free up at the front, so I sat in the front row. And Adrian was there. The timing was perfect, and the seat was perfect, and everything just aligned. And I sat down, and Adrian's like, "Okay, so now I'm going to present to you the system." And it was really, really special. I mean, you can watch Adrian on his videos, and he comes across as very, very kind and knowledgeable. But to see him in person presenting the system, it was just another level. I mean, he started off talking about the components, talking about the man, talking about the history of the company, and what made the components unique and special, and what's so wonderful about them, and what to expect, and the resonant frequency, the woofers, and the technology used in creating this proprietary chip for the amplifier, and all the details about the system. And then he goes into he recognizes that these systems are really tools to transport us to the music. And so he first started talking about an album, Friday Night in San Francisco, this live recording, and just the way it comes off, and then these performances where these two artists are playing against each other or with each other or competing with each other, and just the way that these things can happen in a live performance that just are so special and magical, and it was captured on this album, and it's a track that he really loves, and he was telling the story of how he came to hear it and what's so special about the track, and then he played it for us. And so you have such an appreciation. It's not just like, let me play you some music. No, here's what this music's about, here's what's special about it, here's what you can hear inside. And he puts it on and you listen to it. And then he was talking about Joni Mitchell and songs she wrote when she was very young, and how there was wisdom in that song that people couldn't understand, how she could have that experience so young, and it has to have been written by someone else, but then it turned out her life circumstances gave her a wisdom beyond her years when she was young. And then there's another version of it that she recorded much later in life. You can hear the difference in the interpretation in her voice from one to the other, and he was very passionate about the song and about these experiences, and to hear him tell the story of it all was really special. And then you play the music, you're already there, you're already expecting it, and then to have it come onto the system, and you can hear the voice, and you can hear the expression and everything in the music. It's so special. And then there was a Eva Cassidy and then a Bob Marley live performance, and he put those on and told the backstory of the music, and it was a whole production. I mean, it was half hour, 45 minutes we were in there. We listened to 3-4 songs, but it was the storytelling and the way that Adrian really connected the components through the music and his experience, songs, and why they were special and what was special about them. It was such an engaging experience. Music was good. The Daniel Hertz components, very, very, very good. Very detailed, very clean, very powerful and dynamic. To me, it lacked a bit of warmth. It wouldn't be my first choice. Maybe it was just the setup or whatever. But the experience of listening to the music being presented by Adrian in that room at that time was just over the top. Like he just completely gets why we have our systems, what it should do in transporting us to hear the performances and to really make that connection. I've played old tracks from the 50s and 60s on my system, and like a time machine. I call this my time machine because you can bring back a performance that happened 50 years ago, and it's right there, and it's as if it's happening now. That he understands, that he gets, and that he can really bring and express to people. And so that was such a valuable experience to see him in person, be front row at that performance of Adrian presenting this system. I was lucky to have been there at that time and to have caught that presentation, and it was really valuable, and it made up the third very special experience I had at the Montreal Audio Fest this year. So there you go. That's what happens when you go out in public and you go and visit an audio show. Go interact. Go meet people. Go seek out these experiences. It's great to sit at home and listen to music, but it's also wonderful to get out and talk to people about it and to experience other things. It's really special, and I had a great time. So a video about some of the other rooms I visited, that's coming soon. Thank you. This is Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. Thank you for watching. Please give my video a thumbs up, a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't and you want to see more of my content. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. I read and respond to all my comments. Love having that dialogue with the people who are watching and commenting on my videos. So please leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching. This is Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. We'll see you next time.